Welcome to White Rice, Brown Rice. Let's dig into the flavorful mix of interracial relationships. From cultural quirks to family dynamics, we're serving up fresh perspectives on love, laughter, and all things Asian Caucasian. So grab your chopsticks and forks because it's time to mix it up. I'm excited. We're finally doing
I
it.
know. We've talked about this for a while.
Oh, wow, y'all. Like, basically our entire friendship, which I was thinking about it the other day. It's been almost 9 years.
So usually friendships, if they last past 5, you've got a solid ground.
I
And then
thought it was 7.
when you hit 7, that's when it's
Oh,
like
so you're stuck with me.
you're stuck. There's no moving on. Doesn't matter if
You're so lucky.
yeah, nice. So are you.
But like, we've been talking about this for probably the better part of 7 years. I'm thinking like right
Yeah.
around the time when we really started becoming close. And we became close pretty quickly. So weirdly enough, our first meet, we realized you and my husband are probably cousins,
We're
right?
related somehow.
Yeah, both Chinese Cambodian. And so it
Let's
was an
talk
easy
about
mix.
that. Just quickly, our first meet. I remember it quite differently
Absolutely.
than how you remembered it.
And we can't blame alcohol because we were both pregnant.
Correct.
So maybe it was pregnancy brain that made us remember it differently. But
Well, so I remember being across the street at the neighbor's house, and King came out and introduced himself. And I said, "Oh, where's your wife?" And he's like, "She's back home." And somehow it came out that you were Caucasian. And I was like, "Huh? She's white? My husband's white. We're going to hang out." I was so excited. I thought, this
had
is
some
going
white flavor in your life.
well, to have the mix because he was Asian, you're white. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. We're going to
Yeah.
have so many things in common.
And we do,
And we do.
weirdly enough. Yeah.
And that's how I remember it.
Well, so that's you meeting my husband, not meeting me. See, my recollection of meeting you was at the community party.
Right. I thought I met you before that, though.
No, no, no. So every year, our community does a summer party, block
Yes.
party thing, and everybody goes. And our neighbors across the street, we invited them over to have like a little appetizer before. And they asked, "Oh, can we invite some other friends?" Of course, the more the merrier. And then you came rolling up my driveway in a wheelchair, pregnant.
I was heavily pregnant and I wasn't supposed to be walking around.
Okay, I was still bigger than you. But you came rolling up, and anyone that knows you is not surprised by this fact that you would roll up in a wheelchair to someone's house that you've never been to go to a festival down the street. And we realized, obviously, very quickly, because it's very apparent, you're Asian, your husband's white, I'm white, my husband's Asian. And we were both very pregnant.
Yes.
And then in the first few questions, we realized we were both having little girls. We were very excited. They were going to be 5 weeks apart, and they were both going to be named the same name.
That was found out after at my house when we had that the name conversation.
Really?
I think so. When we were having coffee in my back room.
Still pregnant, obviously.
Still pregnant.
Oh,
And you said, "What are you going to name your baby?"
yes. Mhm.
And now they're twinsies and
Trying to trick their classmates
I know.
into who's who. They're so young for that, but I think it's hilarious. So yeah, our first meeting, I think we can agree to disagree
Yes.
on what that was all about, but the rest is history,
Yeah.
right? We became, I think, pretty fast friends because we had babies like right next to each other. You were on your third, I was on my first, so I needed the help.
Yeah.
You were there. You accepted my baby just as yours, and we had all the little mommy play dates and
We did.
drank a lot of coffee and let the babies lay on the floor. So it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to start and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you and King met?
Yeah, sure. I'm wearing my shirt to represent
And if you can't read it, it says,
once
once
you
you
go
go
Asian,
Asian,
you'll not
you're
go
never
Caucasian.
go
So I
Caucasian.
think this is proof that I'm like have always had an Asian fetish. Is that what it's called when you only date Asian people?
I don't know. I've only ever dated white people.
It's
So
so funny. I didn't only date Asian people, but I dated a lot of Asian guys. And even the white guys, this is gonna maybe sound racist, but I'll say it anyways. Even the white guys that I dated, I had this one guy, he looked like a indigenous Alaskan person, with like the Asian flair in his eyes.
maybe you
So
were
in the thing.
influenced as a younger person. Like you had a really cute Asian waiter at a Chinese restaurant once.
I didn't go to Chinese restaurants when I was young.
No.
I don't know. I've just always really loved Asian eyes, like when you smile and they disappear. It's just so endearing to me. But
Hmm,
anyways,
I don't know.
so my cousin who dated an Asian woman a long time ago, I think she got him the shirt as a gag gift. And because I kept dating Asian guys, he's like, "You deserve this shirt." So he gave it to me and I kept it, obviously. Um, and I saved it for just this occasion.
Yeah,
Our
we're
Asian
finally here.
Caucasian. Yeah. All roads led to this podcast. I'm wearing this shirt to represent my love for Asians. So I met King, weirdly enough, online, but we grew up about a mile and a half away from each other and never met. So we have about 7 million connections that just never brought us together until the timing was perfect for both of us. And we were then perfect for each other. So yeah, I quickly fell for him. Even though I had dated Asians before, he was my first relationship where I really became involved in the family dynamics. Like I had not gone to previous relationships, family holidays,
Right.
right? So it was very eye-opening, even though I felt like I knew Asians, I didn't know Asians. So I've learned a lot, loved every minute But yeah, so we met and married, 2 kids, living the life, blended family, obviously. So lots of dynamics and learning from each other.
Yeah.
What about
How
you?
did your family react when you said you're going to date or marry an Asian?
I think they made some, like, racist comment.
Like, oh, we're gonna get good Chinese food.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like one of those microaggression type of comments. It wasn't, like, overtly racist, not like, "You can't date that guy."
Right.
And, I mean, my family knows me. I do what I want anyways, so they wouldn't have been able to stop me from dating anyone. But I will say that they were surprised, not because of his Asianness, but because he was very different than the people that I dated before, which is why I married him.
Right.
I mean, my family loves King, and it's still an adjustment sometimes, I
Right. With
think.
the different cultures and
Exactly.
expectations
Yeah, yeah, but we kinda just roll with it. It works
day by day.
day by day. What about you and Rich? You never dated Asians.
Never. I recall being attracted to one Asian man in my life, and that was Bruce Lee. I loved him. Thought he was the best, but he was a movie star. So,
Yeah.
but I was like, if I'm going to marry Asian, it has to be Bruce Lee, even though he was like 40 years older than me.
You like old men.
I clearly do.
Yeah, because Rich
Um,
is how much older than you?
he's 14 years older.
Yeah, so you do like old men.
I do. I don't know why. I don't know why. I've
We'll
always
dig into
been,
that in a
I've
later
always been
episode.
attracted to.
Maybe you were influenced by your past, like an old waiter,
Maybe.
a grandfather figure that you really loved. I don't know.
I don't know. I have to think about that. It's true. Why am I
Mm.
attracted to older men?
Why am I attracted to Asians? We'll never know. You
We'll
just
know.
are.
I met Rich when he was working in Canada, and I actually knew him previously through another friend. and we had lost contact because he was married back then. And then he came to Canada, was working in Canada, and hit me up on Facebook when Facebook was
Facebook,
getting popular.
because he's old.
And yep, he hit me up and he said, "Hey, I'm in Windsor on Tuesdays. Want to meet up and we'll have a drink?" I said, "Sure." So I'd meet up with him, and I didn't like him. I was not like,
It wasn't like me
it
where
was
I knew
not
second date.
love at first sight, or even liked him at first sight. He has a very charismatic personality.
He does. Yeah.
He's fun to be around, but he had traits that I did not love
At
at
first.
first. Oh,
He grew.
I feel like he grew on me. I think one of the turning points was when we had a lot of drinks one night and I proceeded to vomit out of his car
Oh,
in the passenger seat. He held my hair back. And I
that's
thought,
the rich thing to do.
you know, he's very caring. And I think that character trait for me kind of overshadowed anything else that I thought was not attractive. So his caring side, he's a very caring person
Yeah.
and like giving and like just loving.
So do you think some of the traits that you either liked or didn't like, were they white traits? Like specific to white people? Like
Um,
obviously anyone can be caring, but being attracted to white guys, is that also because of the
no, I
traits
think the
that
traits that I didn't like were Asian traits.
Oh, so he represents some Asian traits.
Yes.
Like,
Like gambling.
okay, yeah.
Not that he's a crazy gambler, but in the time when we were hanging out, he enjoyed gambling a lot. And I was
Mhm.
like, don't love that. I don't know what it, oh, well, okay. When I first met him, when I really didn't like him, he was still married. And he had come out with me and a group of ladies that were single. And the first thing I said to him was, "Go home to your wife. There's no reason for you to be hanging out with a bunch of single ladies when you're married." And his friend tried sticking up for him. He's like, "He's in an unhappy marriage." And I said, "Well, he needs to grow some balls, go divorce her, and then go out with people.
Mhm.
You can't be here." I didn't like that trait of,
Walking the line.
yes,
Yeah.
he didn't do anything, but he was still putting himself in that situation where I did not think he had high character because of it.
Got it.
So,
And that I think is a cross-cultural trait.
yes.
All people can
Yeah,
be douchebags, right?
correct. Then we ended up hanging out more, and I started to see really caring traits about him. And I ended up proposing to him after dating for 1 month. Because
It's funny how you went it doesn't surprise me because I know you, but it's funny how you went from, like, not liking somebody to then engaged in a month. Like, that's a big flip-flop.
it is. Well, because I had decided, I was like, okay, he's going to be the one I marry. And I'm 32. I don't want to be in the dating world any longer. And
I
it's
feel like
like, eat
that might be a bit Asian.
shit or get off the pot.
Mhm.
That was it. I was like, I'm not going to play this. Let's hang out for a year and see if we get along. If we don't get along now and we can't fix our problems now, we're not going to be able to fix them later. So, do you want to marry me? Yes or no? Those are your options. And if you say no, sayonara.
Mhm.
So good to see you, but don't want to be you. And he knew. He was like, oh, she's serious.
Yeah. And so he was down, though.
So he was down. I got him a ring and I got to pick out my ring.
Mm.
That was probably part of it because he was previously married, like I said, and he was wearing a gold ring. And at the time, that was not cool. And I thought, oh, God, if I wait for him to pick me a ring, it's going to be gold and it's going to be ugly.
Uh-huh.
And I know what I want and I know what I like and I want to
Uh-huh.
just do it myself. I don't know if a lot of people knew that I proposed to Rich. Like, got down on one knee and did it
That's really sweet.
at the casino.
Oh, that's That's not surprising.
Yes. So when my mom and dad found out that Rich and I were getting married,
Mhm.
thankfully my sister already married a Caucasian. So she kind of broke the mold on that.
Your sister's husband, did your parents grow to like him?
Oh, they love him.
Okay, so that's a good entry to the
Yes.
family. Like, there's already like, he's not a bum, so
Right.
okay.
We don't bring boyfriends home. We weren't allowed to have boyfriends, so that's why we didn't bring them home.
Yeah.
But she never brought him around, but she got married. So when introduced Rich to the family, my parents knew, oh, okay, this guy's serious because I don't really introduce people to the family. And they adore Rich. And Rich will still
Was
tell this
it like
story.
love at first sight for them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they loved him.
Because that was not my experience as a white person entering an Asian
Oh,
family.
they loved him
Yeah.
so much.
Oh, good.
But it was
For
different
him.
because I was 32 and I'm a woman.
Okay.
It was like, let's get rid of the daughter. My mom, since I was 18, brought forth possibilities and prospects of marriage to me constantly. And it could have been a second cousin. Oh, look, cousin Yi from California. He's so good. He gonna be a doctor. You married doctor? And I'm like, Mom, he is my second cousin. I will not be marrying him. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Say, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. We don't do that. We don't do that in Western society.
Mhm.
Not arranged marriages anymore. I get to choose. So being 32 is very late for an Asian woman to get married. Like I should have had 4 kids by now.
Yeah.
You know, I was the oldest of my family and women to be married. My husband says, this is what my dad said to him when they found out we were getting married. And he was like, okay, thank you for taking my daughter. She is all yours now, not my problem no more. I'm like, sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Right.
You get to pump my gas now. You get to make sure my car has oil in it
Yeah,
because
that's
that's what my dad did.
Oh,
I know.
that's a sweet dad.
He was. He always did that stuff. He made
Yeah.
sure I had gas. Honey, you have gas? I'm like, no. Okay, he goes, okay, I'll go fill for you. I'm like, okay, thanks, Daddy. So,
Not
yeah,
my problem anymore.
yeah, not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, they loved Rich. So, and here we are 15 years later. We've had our ups and downs and getting used to his family and my family. I feel like he's gotten because my family is very accommodating to him and they adore him. I feel like the transition for him into my family was very easy and well received. You know, especially in the Asian culture, he's very respected because he's an enseignant. Enseignant, I never knew what an enseignant was.
That?
An engineer.
Oh, so that's a good job.
It's a good job, yeah. So they respected him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas myself going into his family, I feel because he's the baby, the youngest, already been divorced, his family was a little more apprehensive of someone coming in and culturally different. They always made me feel welcome. I don't want to say that they didn't. They're a very welcoming family. It was all the micro aggressions or comments and things. I was called Oriental for the longest time by my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, my son, he married an Oriental. She's great. We have excellent fried rice.
And your husband grew up where I grew up,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And even King. So there are those, I'm not racist. I have a black friend. I'm
Right.
not racist. I dated an Asian guy kind of comment
Right.
sometimes. So it's not like the overt, like, you can't do this.
There's no hatred.
But there's definitely the microaggressions. Even still to this day, I find myself correcting my family, especially in front of
Right.
my kids. Like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think as a white person, now seeing it through a lens of a minority person or a person of a different ethnicity, it's blatantly obvious how
Right.
often these things happen.
However, we also do it in the Asian community.
100%. I
It's
feel like my mother talks more about culturally different people than I do. And
it
even within the culture, right? Like Asian subcultures, there's like a
yes.
hierarchy.
Yes.
That'll be a whole nother conversation. It's really interesting to have like that insider perspective as being a non-Asian person.
Right. Because
It's
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 not just
fascinating.
all Asian.
No, it's like,
Vietnamese,
yeah,
Cambodian, Chinese,
hmm,
Filipinos,
yeah,
Indian, kind of Asians don't consider Indians
right,
Asian.
right.
There's a whole list of them.
Yeah. So I'm glad for Rich that he was accepted right away. I can't say that was the same
For you.
for me, not at all. King and I might have done it wrong. He decided to, his family was always very busy. They were in the restaurant business, they worked all the time. So I didn't have a lot of opportunities to be with his family. So he decided to invite me after about, I guess, 6 months of dating on their family vacation. And Asian family vacations are fun. We got in a van. There's probably 13 of us and drove from Detroit to Philadelphia to visit his sister. So I was in the car with his parents, his aunt and uncle, his other aunt and uncle, couple kids, like in one of those really big white, like church type vans. And I sat by his mother the entire ride. So what is that, like 10 hours, something like that? Never said a word to me. I thought she didn't speak English because she only spoke Chinese in the car. And I'm like, "Oh, she can't talk to me because she doesn't speak English." But I tried, right? I'm like being like the good girlfriend. I'm like, "Can I get you a water? Are you okay? Are you comfortable? How are you doing?" Trying to like make small
Right.
talk with this woman that I've never met, but I want to know because her son is important to me. Just did not respond, like, at all. And so we got to our hotel, and thankfully, King and I had our own room. I didn't have to, like, share with his parents or anything. And I asked him, I said, like, "Your mom doesn't speak English, right?" He's like, "Yeah, she does." I was like, "What the heck?" I was talking to her the whole time, and she wouldn't respond. He's like, "Oh, she just doesn't like that I'm dating a white girl." I was like, "You told me this now?" So, yeah, it was a week. But over the course of that week, I think because I could use chopsticks, I got some points. I ate a lot, like a lot of Asian food because when you go on a trip with Asians, you only, especially to a place with a Chinatown,
You're only eating
breakfast, lunch,
Asian.
dinner, Chinatown. I went to Philadelphia. It took me 7 days to get a Philly cheesesteak. And that's because I had to beg King, "Can we please not go to Chinatown? I really want a Philly cheesesteak." And so we left his family to do that. But yeah, they did not love me. They love me now,
Right.
but it was not that accommodating or welcoming.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Again, because it's male
Mhm.
bringing in a white girl.
Yeah. And my husband also was previously married. So I think they were also protective. I'll give him that. Like,
Yeah.
they were protective of him because he had been burned pretty bad. So, I can appreciate as a mother, like wanting to protect your kid.
Right.
But yeah. So your husband's first wife, Asian or white?
White.
Okay.
Italian.
Okay.
Same as him.
Yeah. King's first wife was Asian. Same, same.
They had to go polar
Mixed
opposite
it up
to get it
to
good.
get it right.
Yeah, I think that him being male, me being female, and in our Asian culture, I was too old. I was an old maid at 32 and I wasn't married yet. So they were welcoming of anybody coming in, I feel like, but they were lucky that it was Rich.
Yeah. He's a good addition.
He's a great addition. They love him. My
That's
mom adores him still.
yeah. I can see
She
that.
calls me
He's a
every
wonderful
day.
guy.
Will you make him for food? Will you make food for him?
Uh-huh.
Yes, Mom, I'm cooking right now. I've been cooking for 7 hours. That's all I do when I'm not cleaning.
Yeah, but that's how you keep a man.
That's what my mother said.
Right.
Why you want to go play outside? Come inside. I teach you how to make fried rice. I'm like, I'm 8 years old and all the other kids are playing marbles. I just want to play marbles.
No, you gotta get in the kitchen.
No marbles for you. You think you pay bill with marbles? It's usually
Yeah.
the answer to that.
Yeah. And same with King, and probably I don't maybe it's an immigrant thing too, just working,
Yeah,
having to
work,
stay with
work,
parents,
work,
work. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll work.
King was working in the kitchen by like 6, 7. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's how it is.
it is. So the point, the way we got to this podcast was because we circle around conversations about our differences, specifically within our marriage. I go to you all the time for advice. You come to me. Like, is this an Asian thing or is this just my husband thing? Like,
Right.
how do I deal with this with my mother-in-law? And I think it was like a match made in heaven that we were neighbors and became friends and we could share with each other cultural ideas
Yes.
to help each other through, to help each other through like tough family marital issues. And that I think also cemented the reason for this podcast, because we talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And we joke all the time about how these things are cultural issues, but not just specific to us.
Us. Yes. Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people could have these same type of issues
Yeah.
in interracial relationships.
And they're all funny.
So
Like,
funny.
That's where it all started. We would just tell each other stories or, oh my gosh, I just came from my mother-in-law's house and this is
Right.
what she said to me. And it's just
Yeah.
so funny. And we want to share it with everybody. Like, does this happen to you?
Right. Exactly.
But don't tell my mother-in-law.
Right. I know. I don't think my mother-in-law even knows what a podcast is, so I think I'm safe on that front.
Yeah, I don't know if mine do or not. I'm sure they do. Probably heard of it.
What a podcast is?
Yes.
Okay. Just don't tell them about this one.
No.
Well, here's the thing. I think the one thing that I think I want listeners to know is we have mad respect for each other's cultures. We joke sometimes inappropriately, but it comes from such a deep place of like love and mutual respect. It's
And
just
understanding.
an understanding
Yeah.
and continuing to want to learn and grow. So I will make fun of you, and sometimes I'll bring out your Asian voice just to
Right.
make fun of you. Right. And it's never taken. I mean, obviously, we're best friends, so you never take it as an insult.
Right.
But even when we're talking about my in-laws or, each other's families, it's coming from such like a place of like love and respect. And we just love to kind of be inappropriate.
Yes.
That's just our nature. The reason I love you as a friend is because I feel like I can be my authentically goofy, inappropriate self
Without judgment.
without judgment. And it's a great place to be. I hope everybody has a friend like Sophan, because to be able to be like authentically stupid, great. I think like in our professional lives and out in the community, sometimes you have to be put together. And I never feel like I have to be put together with you. So that's definitely going to come out, I think, in the podcast is our inappropriate, authentic, stupid selves, which is why I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's the whole point.
exactly. So the things that we want to talk about are the everyday stuff, but also the deeper issues that might come up.
Yes. And there are a lot of deep issues when you
There are.
really sit down and take away the layers of the funny, quirky,
Yeah.
And then you get to the deep issue and you're like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, okay."
Yeah. So this will be hopefully a place of learning,
Yeah.
exploring, getting curious about things.
Yeah. And just being open and honest about situations and seeing both sides
Totally. Yeah. So bringing two cultures together
and mixing it up
and mixing it up.
and laughing while we're doing it.
Yeah. It sounds like a fun time. You have a fascinating childhood, but being a refugee, right?
Yeah.
So we want to dive into that. Mine is pretty mid-America, not that fascinating. I think what we will learn is why you hate the rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good story for that.
Yeah.
And I'll share the next one. I'll share it in our next podcast.
Yeah. So stay tuned. It's a great
When we
story.
come back and mix it up some more.
Yeah.
So grab your forks and chopsticks.
We're mixing it up. Mix it up. Hey, Inner Ice Pod. We had a blast mixing it up with you today. So use your chopstick or your fork and go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on social media to stay up to date. We would love to hear from you, so send us an email sharing your interracial stories. See you next time.